Hi, Janae. You're muted. So it won't let me end these meetings and start a new one until the whole meeting is ended, even if I assign you as alternate host. So I don't really know what to do about trying to start them all 15 minutes early.
Oh,
Um,
okay. So it won't be ready until 9?
well, it's open now. It's ready now because Kimberly ended the other meeting. But for the rest, like I won't be able to end the meeting, leave, let you play the commercial and start the next one for the speaker early. It won't let me start the next one until the old one is over, even if you are the host and I left.
Okay, well, we'll just have to coordinate and.
But that just means I can't get on early like we told the speakers.
Okay.
I will let Staci Danford in right now, but
Okay.
So Shauna, would it be easier then if you play the commercial at the end? Good morning, Staci.
Hi,
How are
Staci.
you?
Good morning.
Or do you want me to still queue that up so you can be ready to?
Can you still queue it up so I can leave and get the next one ready to start just in case?
Yes, absolutely. All right.
I forget there's like 2 hours time difference. I almost panicked this morning. I was like, oh my God. That's always my biggest fear is to mess up a keynote.
Oh.
Oh no.
So Staci, we've got people moving over from the intro meeting into this meeting, so we'll let them in here in just a minute.
Okay. And I joined via the Zoom thing. Should I have done the WOVA or whatever, or does it matter?
Either is fine. It
Okay.
just means that we will need to monitor the chat section for you.
Oh, do I need to get out and come back in the other one? Would that be easier?
It's up to you, really, if you want to use it through Zoom or through Whova. If you use it through Zoom, we will just keep an eye on the chat section in case people have questions. If you want to take questions during the presentation,
Okay.
but you can stay here. That's totally fine.
Okay. And then you'll just tell me like if somebody has a question or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and Staci, you can also direct them, if they have questions, you can direct them to your exhibitor booth during the breaks as well.
Okay, perfect.
I would say go ahead and let them in, Shauna.
Okay. I will let everyone in.
A little bit differently for our next presentation. So sorry about that, Staci.
That's okay.
Let's see. Let me. All right. So
Do I need
Staci,
to do something different?
no, I think you're good to go. If you want to start, you can go ahead.
Oh, wow. Okay. We still have 8 minutes. Do you want me to go ahead and start?
Or we can wait a minute or two if you would like.
Okay. I wish I had something really fun and musical to play in the background.
Sorry about that background noise. My daughter woke up early, surprisingly, and is making a bunch of noise back here.
I don't hear it on my end, so
Okay, good.
it must not be very loud.
And I won't mention any more personal background noises today.
That I am going to turn off my Alexa. Sometimes she randomly comes on in the middle of something. I guess I say a word that sounds kind of like her. And she'll say, I did not understand what you said. And I'm like, oh my gosh, stop talking. Technology is wonderful,
Oh, yeah.
but not.
All right. Still got a couple more people coming in here. Shauna, how many attendees do we show that are in the meeting right now?
We're up to 95.
95. All right. Okay. Just wait another minute or so. And then I think we'll be ready to go.
All right.
And thank you, Kimberly, for directing them to go to the agenda, to come
No
to the
problem.
meeting. I will be sure to do that with the next presentation.
My 13-year-old helped me figure that out. He was like, Mom, you have to go to your agenda. And I was like, I don't even know where that is. Kids are so much better, I guess, because they've been doing all those
Oh,
school. I mean, they just go clicking stuff and they know just where to go when we start panicking as adults.
Yeah,
We're
definitely
like, "No."
beneficial to have a tech savvy teenager.
Yes.
All right, I think we can go.
Do I need to introduce me or say anything or just get started?
Well, I will go ahead and introduce you again because I did in the last session and I messed that up. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know if they just think I'm some random Texas chick or what.
So in case anyone missed the introduction, I know Staci did because we were not in her session, but Staci Danford is our keynote speaker today. She is a one-of-a-kind mix of joy and neuroscience. She has a master's degree in mind, brain education. She is the owner and operator of The Greater Brain, a consulting company that uses neuroscience to help individuals, schools, and companies use their brain to rewire their future. So let's welcome Staci.
Hi, everybody. As you can tell from the instant hillbilly twang, I'm from Texas, so you'll just have to kind of block that out along the way. But I'm so excited to be here this morning. Of all the things I value, people's time, I know right now is their most valuable asset, and I thank you for sharing some of your time with me. So get ready to change your brain. You can think of me kind of as the brain cheerleader, and I'm going to share my screen and get started. Yay! Okay, we're going to talk today about your brain, and brain health is a direct correlation to mental health and how gratitude can change the way stress works in your brain. And I am so excited because there is brand new research that's just come out in the last couple of weeks and things that they are able to see now inside the human brain. And I'm going to share those with you today. As you can tell, I'm not your average neuroscientist. I don't do surgery. I don't work in a lab. I am an educational neuroscientist. So I teach people about their brain and what it's doing, because when your brain works right, you work right. And you can probably all think of a time in your life when things weren't going right for you mentally. You maybe were in a divorce, maybe there had been a death in the family, you were moving, you changed jobs, because stress directly impacts the way that your brain works. It impacts the function of your brain and it changes everything. And 2020, of all the things we've ever done, has collectively changed the way that human brains have worked, but it also changed the way we work in general. It's added so much more stress to our life because change creates stress. And I'm going to give you a little example right now of what change does to your brain. So I want everybody to think for a minute, just close your eyes and imagine writing your name with your right hand, your dominant hand, whichever hand you use. Imagine writing your signature. Okay, that was pretty easy. You don't have to put forth much effort to do that. Now, I want you to close your eyes and imagine writing your signature with your non-dominant hand. So for me, that's my left hand. And even when we don't have a pen, if we imagine writing our signature, we can see that it's much more difficult to do because your brain is having to change the wiring system in order to do something new. So think about what 2020 has done to us. We've had to do all kinds of things new. We've had to change the way we work, change the way our health, masks, schools, everything about our life has had to change. And change creates stress, and stress alters the way your brain works. But the way that it does that, it creates a tunnel vision for your brain. So just a while ago, when you were trying to write your name with your non-dominant hand, your brain created a tunnel vision to try to put this together for you because this was not normal. And that's what stress does. It's not a normal state for your brain to be in, and it creates tunnel vision. We've all been through moments in our life where something was really bothering us. We were super stressed out, and you know how you do. You can only think about that. And you'll try to do something else and you'll come back and think about it. You'll think about it over and over all day long because stress creates tunnel vision. There's a phrase in neuroscience that we use that says, where the focus goes, your attention flows and your wiring grows. So your brain is actually growing wiring every single time you think about what you're stressed out about. And I realized that we can't avoid stress, that tunnel vision and stressful things are just part of the way we work. And I learned about stress long before I actually knew the neuroscience behind stress. And it happened years and years ago when my grown children were young. So about 20 years ago, we lived in a rural town in West Texas that didn't have any kind of doctors or dentists. And we had to drive about an hour away to get to the dentist office. Well, my son was about 7 years old at the time, and my daughter was 3. And of course, as always, I was running late. And in Texas, you know, everything is far away. You've got to drive everywhere you go. And we were on a rush to get to the dentist office. And I looked down and noticed my gas gauge was on E. I instantly started turning off the air conditioner, turning all the stuff off, thinking, we're just 10 minutes away. We'll be there if we just coast. Almost instantly, my car was ran out of gas, and I'm up on the freeway. I had a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old in the back seat. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Well, this was back in the early 90s when broomstick skirts were in style. If you don't know what that is, that's a skirt that's made of like 20 yards of fabric. And I didn't know what to do besides push the car. So I got my 7-year-old over in the driver's seat, and all I had was tunnel vision. I've got to get to the dentist. They'll cancel my appointment. The only thing I know how to do is push this car. So I got the 7-year-old in the driver's seat. I got out of the car, hold on to the door, and I'm pushing while he's driving. And I said, Bub, all I need you to do is keep it between the lines. So as I'm holding the door, holding the window, pushing my car in a skirt and high heels, about that time, a good old West Texas wind blows. My whole entire skirt went over the top of my head. And I didn't know what to do. I was just panicking. I was like, do I let go of the car to get my skirt down, or do I just keep holding on? Well, I kept holding on so my 7-year-old wouldn't free float down the highway. About that time, I start hearing truckers going by honking. Meh, 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 meh. In my head, I'm so mad because I've got tunnel vision. And I'm thinking, you jerks, why doesn't somebody stop and help me? About that time, I look at my 3-year-old in the back seat who is doing this. she was telling the truckers to honk, which was why they were honking at me. And in that instant, I started laughing instead of being focused on how angry and upset that I was. And I knew then that I had shifted my focus. I had no idea at the time what that focus was doing neurologically to my brain until I went back to school later. But stress is rampant in our country right now. We are in a place where anxiety, depression, suicide is on the rise. Anxiety has become the #1 mental illness for children and adults. Depression has tripled in the last year due to COVID. And 80% of the people say that stress is affecting the way they come to the workplace. So we can't stop stress, but we have to understand that it's altering the wiring in our brain. And what do we do about it? Because we can't pretend like it's not there, because it is there. We are doing things different. Change has taken over the way we work in America these days. These are the top 4 things that stress out the human brain: money issues, work issues, family issues, and health issues. What doesn't take long to look at that and realize that COVID has affected all 4 of those things at one time. That is why we are more stressed than ever. So what do we do about it? Because everybody in the office is stressed out. And there are things that you can do at every minute of the day to pause the way stress is working in your brain. Because we can't develop this practice of gratitude until we understand what the opposite of that is, which is stress. Because when we get the tunnel vision focus and we're so frustrated about things that aren't going right, or sickness, or trying to get on Zoom calls and all the technology, we have tunnel vision, but we are creating chemicals in our brain that are the equivalent of a chemical waste dump. Your brain during stress is producing cortisol. Cortisol dumps into your body. It makes your heart race. It makes your eyes change, your pupils. It makes you sweat. It is truly like a toxic waste dump inside your body. And the newest research shows that chronic stress is actually eating holes in the human brain. So what do we do when we're feeling stressed out? The key to that is gratitude. And how do you get to gratitude when you're in the moment of a frenzy, when you're in the moment of being upset and stressed out? There is a method I'm going to teach you called the STOP method that you can learn today and absolutely use tonight. It works for adults. It works for children. You can teach anyone you know this method. If you are taking notes, it is the acronym STOP. And each of these letters will do something special to your brain and something specific. So we are going to alter our brain with these 4 letters. And the first one is the S. The S stands for say your name. Did you know that your brain knows your name better than any other name? It understands your name and it stops to pause each time it hears your name. For every mother out there, anytime you've ever been in a store and you hear somebody go, "Mom, Mom," we all stop instantly and turn around if that sounds like our kids, because our brain associates that name, Mom, with something that's important. It also understands your actual name. So the next time you're in a moment of stress and you're in a moment of frenzy, say your name and say the word stop. So I say, "Staci, stop." And instantly my brain pauses and wonders what we are stopping about. So your brain has patterns that are like loops. And when you say stop, it creates something called a pattern interrupter. Because when we are stressed, we've said things we would never say otherwise. We've written emails we would never write otherwise. We've slammed doors. We do things because we're not thinking. We're not in the thinking part of our brain. But when we can stop that pattern of stress with an interrupter, we pause the chemicals and we pause our brain long enough to get back in the prefrontal cortex. So truly, all you have to do is say your name and stop. Staci, stop. Then the T stands for take over your breathing. None of us during the day think about our breathing. We don't think about if we're breathing, how fast we're breathing, how deep we're breathing. Our brain just breathes, because breathing is part of the autonomic nervous system, which is called the lizard brain. And just like a lizard, it is on autopilot. Our breathing is on autopilot, our digestion's on autopilot. But this is the same part of your brain that's producing these crazy stress chemicals and causing you to do things you wouldn't normally do and think things that you wouldn't normally think. So say you do that with the 3-3-3 method. So the first way to do it is breathe in for 3. Then hold it for 3. And then breathe out for 3. Well, that feels very non-normal because that's not the way we breathe. Do that 3 times. 3-3-3, 3 times. So everybody try it right now. Breathe in for 3, hold for 3, out for 3. Instantly, you feel yourself drop to a lower state because you have now taken over your breathing. But what you're telling your brain, when you take over the lizard brain, you're also taking over the chemicals that the lizard brain produces. When we did research with people that were in prison and other people who were about to be incarcerated, one of the things that they always say is, I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't in my right mind. I just snapped. I don't know why I did that. Because when you are in an emotional, stressful state, the best, most complicated part of your brain is no longer working. So think of the emotion part of your brain. It's in the middle of your brain and it's about the size of your fist. And your thinking brain is like the covering over the top of your emotional brain. But when this emotional brain is in a frenzy, there is no longer blood flow coming to this part of the brain, which is why you do things and say things that you wouldn't normally do. So when people say, I wasn't in my right mind, they actually were not in their right mind. So T, take over your breathing. The O is the funnest part of all. It stands for stop right now and make an observation. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever emotional, stressful state you're in, observe something happy in that moment. So like right now, I could look out my window and I see a little squirrel running over there in our bluebonnets. It can take something that small. Find something to get your mind off of what you're stressed about and create tunnel vision towards something positive instead of towards something stressful. It takes only about 10 seconds to find something. It can literally be anything, but make an observation of something positive. The P stands for pause and hold that thought for 10 to 30 seconds. And that is what reacts the chemicals in your brain. And chemicals are what change the way your brain works. But we want positive chemicals in our brain, not negative chemicals. We don't want the ones that are eating holes in the human brain. We want the ones that are building gratitude and building joy. So when you pause and hold the thought for 30 seconds, so I can say, I look out there at that little squirrel and I can just pause and think about it. I can think, oh my gosh, that's so cute. It's like a rat with a fur jacket. He's bouncing and jumping and he looks like he's having fun. Those thoughts produce the chemicals I want in my brain. And that's literally all it takes to stop the tunnel vision of stress and move cortisol out of your body and move positive chemicals in like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. Those are the ones you want in your brain because those are the ones that raise productivity. They raise problem solving. They help you think better. They also make you work better as a team. The first time I ever tried this, I was probably in one of the most stressful states I've ever been in. I was in the middle of a heartbreaking divorce that I did not want. And my ex-husband at the time had just walked up with his brand new girlfriend who was young and cute and blonde and beautiful. And I felt myself about to have what I thought was a panic attack or a heart attack. I was so stressed. All I could do was look at her and see everything she was and everything I wasn't. And in that moment, I knew I had learned this method. I knew it worked in my brain. And I said, Staci, stop. I breathed in and I looked and looked and looked to try to find something to observe in that moment. And I saw a little blonde-headed girl at my son's soccer game running down the field with her little pigtails, doing pirouettes down the soccer field. She literally had no idea the soccer ball had just gone right past her. She was in her own world. And I thought, wow, that's what I want to be. I want to be able to dance through the middle of soccer and chaos going on around me. And I knew at that moment it had worked because a smile came on my face and I was no longer angry, upset, and frustrated. And in 30 seconds, I had altered the chemicals in my brain by focusing on a little blonde-headed 4-year-old pirouetting down the soccer field instead of focusing on an ex-husband and what was happening in my mind. And if it can work for something as drastic as divorce, it can absolutely work for moments in your office, in your work, if you're working at home, because the STOP method is research-based and it works in your brain, and your brain is what changes your emotions. So the S stands for say your name, the T, take over your breathing, the O, observe something to be grateful for, and P, pause and hold that thought for 10 to 30 seconds, long enough that you can start to feel the emotions, and they'll always creep on your face. You'll feel yourself begin to change because emotions alter brain function. Good emotions or bad emotions, they are always altering your brain function. Now, it's not enough to know what to do when you're angry, because maybe you're not angry. Maybe today's going great for you, but you can still create a chemical equation for happiness and joy and gratitude that actually raises your brain to a higher level. And I don't know about you, but there are times that I just get brain fog so bad that I'll know I know something. It's on the tip of my tongue and I can't get it. I can't focus. I can't concentrate. And that's the time I know I need chemicals. I know I need to change what my brain is doing, and then I can change what's coming out of my brain. So if you've ever had brain fog or a moment where you just can't seem to focus, you've got a deadline, you keep typing the email, you keep messing up, this works every time to alter the chemicals to bring yourself some more joy. So our other acronym was STOP. This one is joy, J-O-Y, because joy is the #1 predictor of high performance. It increases your organization. It lowers your error rate. It is actually something that stops job turnover. It raises all kinds of productivity levels. It lowers conflict. It is something that's free and easy. So people think easy doesn't always work. And that's not the truth. The research does not back that up, because the chemicals of joy and gratitude truly alter out loud and you just feel that giggle. That's the kind of joy that raises your chemical levels. And here's how you can do it at any time of the day, because what's coming out of your mouth is so important. Your words and brain, and every single thought and every single word is creating a connection, which is creating either an electrical or a chemical signal in your brain. And just because we can't see these signals and we can't always know what's going on inside here does not mean that they're harmless, because every single one is creating a connection. It's like having a mouthful of poison or a mouthful of some healing. It's like eating broccoli all day long, because we want the chemicals that our body creates, but we sometimes don't do the things to create those chemicals. So the first part of what you can do is to create joy, and it stands for jam out. Can y'all hear the music on there? Maybe, I don't know if you can on your side, but to get yourself to get the jam out joy, you have got to find music that makes you bounce, that creates that feeling of bouncing, like almost like you're just bubbling over, because we tend to play music we like. And like, I know I love Air Supply, but it reminds me of the high school boyfriend who broke up with me, and I'm all out of love. I'm so lost without you. I wish I could see y'all there, because clearly I'm not a singer. But Air Supply, even though I love it and I know all the songs, it triggers bad memories for me, because I remember that song and I remember him walking off with my best friend, and we were at a football game. And every time I hear that song, still, it brings back that memory. I also like country music, of course, in Texas, but it doesn't pep me up. It doesn't make me happy. I just like to sing to it. So in order to get the kind of joy where your brain produces the chemicals you want, it's got to be the kind of music that makes you bounce. So my suggestion for everyone is to create a playlist on your phone of 10 bouncy songs. And I use these all the time when I want to get myself more focused. I want to be able to do better. You know, I'm trying to type an email. I have to stop for a second and give myself some good chemicals so I can go back to work. It's a free and easy way to alter your chemicals. But remember, just because you like the song does not mean that it's altering chemicals. It's got to make you feel that bounce, and that bounce is what's creating the chemicals of joy. The next letter is O, and it stands for open your mouth and smile. And I know when we're in the middle of stress and frenzy, smiling is absolutely the thing that we do not want to do. But do you know that smiling improves your cognitive powers by about 30%? Something as simple as smiling, because smiling releases endorphins and it releases chemicals. And did you know if you do it correctly, your brain does not know the difference between a fake smile and a real smile? And there was a scientist called Duchenne, and 43 facial muscles that are connected to cranial 7 in your brain that are telling your brain what kind of chemicals to dump out. And a smile produces those kinds of chemicals. So everybody just stop for a second and think of something you love. It could be your kids, it could be hot coffee, it could be anything. And think about it for just a minute, and instantly you want to smile. You want to, like, oh, hold on to it. But what happens if you're having a crummy day and this day is just going from bad to worse and you can't even force yourself to smile? Science has figured out a way to do that. And all you need is a pen or a pencil, popsicle stick, something straight. I've even used the side of my glasses before when I was in a really grumpy moment. And if you will take this straight object and put it in your mouth and shove it back to your back molars like this. Instantly, I know I look silly, but it will make you start laughing, because it takes about 5 to 10 seconds. And then your brain's like, oh, I guess we're smiling now. And it will start dumping out the chemicals, and it will create a chemical smile until your body creates a physical smile. But the chemical smile is the one you're going for. And you can do that on days when you're happy. You can do that on days when you're sad. You just have to make yourself, and all you need is something straight. I used this method so much 2 years ago in the elementary carpool line. I don't know if y'all do carpool lines there in Washington, but in Texas, they're brutal. And I swear they get the meanest, grumpiest woman on the planet. They must put that in the job description and they let her run the carpool line. And she stands there and she very angrily tells us to come forward. And I want to say, lady, there's no other way for me to go. You don't have to do this to me every time. I can't go backwards. I'll run over cars behind me. I can't go sideways. I'll hit the school building. And I can't go this way or I'll run over small children. But she just does it so mad. And if you miss scooting up by even an inch, she will get her little whistle out and blow. Oh, it makes me so mad. So when I started to pick up my son in the 6th grade carpool line, I would drive up to the carpool like this. And he would get in the car, mortified. He was 11. He was like, Mom, people think you're crazy. And I was like, I am going to go crazy if this lady does not stop that. And I was like, it's either me work on my chemicals or I may have a nervous breakdown with this woman. So you can do this method even in the midst of chaos. If you walk into a staff meeting like this, your boss may wonder what's up, but it's better to get your chemicals right, because remember, those negative chemicals over a period of time are eating holes in your brain. So either look crazy or have holes in your brain. The why of joy either an electrical or a chemical signal. And you've got 50 to 80,000 of them. And the sad part is almost 76% of those thoughts are negative. And we think there's no way I have that many negative thoughts. But think about when you wake up in the morning, you think, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Oh, I have a meeting. Oh, I missed my deadline. I've got an email to write. Oh, this hair. Son, get up. I forgot to get bread. We don't have any toast. The milk's bad. Boom, 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 boom. In a matter of seconds, we've had hundreds of negative thoughts. I wish I would creating chemicals in your brain. So here's my biggest suggestion for you is to take the first few minutes of the morning and you say something nice to you. This is called the sweet spot of your brain. And the first few minutes of the morning, your brain is moving from theta waves, which are the sleep waves, up to alpha waves. And alpha waves are that kind of just barely awake. Beta waves are when you're conscious and working. But when you're first waking up, that is the most influential time of the day. And it's the most influential time of your brain. We call it the sweet spot. And it's like putting seeds in your brain. But it only lasts for a few minutes until you open your eyes and you get up. Because when you open your eyes, your brain starts observing sights, sounds, colors, all the things, and you get so much bombardment in the optical area of your brain that it shuts down this theta wave. But when you are just waking up, I leave my eyes closed and I start saying nice things to myself. You say something nice to you. I think about the things I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for eyes that see and ears that hear and legs that take me anywhere I want to go. I'm grateful for a bed that feels like vanilla pudding. I'm grateful for a little dog who's just waiting to get up and go outside. I just say these things over and over inside my mind, and I say nice things to myself. I'll say, Staci, you are trying your hardest to change the world. Thank you for being a good mother. Thank you that your children love you. I start my day nice to myself because those chemicals will last up to 6 hours in your brain. So if you want the benefit of the chemicals, you've got to purposely do something to get them, because most of us in the morning, nobody's waking up going, oh, you're wonderful. I love you. You're beautiful. Here's coffee. Here's flowers. Here's the things. That's just not the way the world works. But you've got to do it for yourself. most of the time I look terrible. My hair's sticking everywhere. You know, you have bad breath, you have crappy pajamas on, you know, you don't look good. But I used to look in the mirror and think, oh my gosh, your hair's getting gray. You're getting wrinkles. You're getting old. Your butt's too big. These pants are too tight. Blah, 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 blah. All the things that we do to ourselves. But I was creating my own chemical waste dump. And now I can say at 54 years old, I think I'm one of the happiest people in the world, but it didn't happen by accident. It happened by choice, because I chose to put gratitude in my brain because it wasn't happening to me. I had to do it myself. And especially right now in the middle of pandemic and people are changing and going back to work and there's just stress of all kinds. The world is not going to hand you gratitude on a silver platter. You are going to have to build that platter for yourself, because our brains are not meant to create joy. Our brains, joy is not wired in naturally. The jam out, the open your mouth and smile, you say something nice to you, those are not threats to your survival. And that's why our brain is not wiring joy in, because joy is not a threat. This is an actual picture of neurons creating electrical and chemical signals in your brain. And every single one of your thoughts are doing this exact same thing, 50 to 80,000 times a day. And every thought you think is doing something. If you remember nothing else after this speech is over, just remember that every single thought you think is doing this inside your brain. And are you putting this in positive chemicals, or are you doing this in negative chemicals? Because we are wired for survival. We are wired to watch for danger, to notice stress, to be careful, to be observant. We aren't wired for joy. You've got to put joy in there, because people all over the world, from every single walk of life, this entire continent right now is under the highest levels of stress it has been since World War II. We are experiencing the middle of the stress epidemic and are being forced to use our brain in different ways. And no two brains are the same, but we are all producing the same types of chemicals, and our reactions to those chemicals are different. And if you want to stop stress, the number one way to do that is to put in joy and gratitude, because stress creates cortisol, and joy and gratitude put in a dose of happiness. So this is how you can remember the happy chemicals, DOSE. You want a dose of happiness. It's dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. The best way to fight stress with dopamine is to create a to-do list. Just put like 5 things on your list. Don't put too many, because then you'll feel bad that you didn't do things. Sometimes I purposely put things on my list to do that I know I'll do anyway, like make the bed. And then when you mark it off, your brain creates a dopamine rush because it's proud of you. Oxytocin is the love hormone. It's the warmth and the joy. This is the one we are suffering the least amount of right now, because the best way we get oxytocin is from a hug and personal contact. But if you have a pet at home, hugging and petting your pet also gives you a boost of oxytocin. Or talking to a friend, feeling that loving bond is another way to get oxytocin. Serotonin is created by sunshine. Just walk outside and feel the sunshine and you will get a dose of serotonin. And the E is for endorphins. And one of the best ways to get endorphins is just to move. So that movement and that bounce that you get with music creates those endorphins for you, and it will you are feeling that anxiety, when you are feeling that stress, when you're in the middle of a frenzy, use the stop method. When you are purposely wanting to raise productivity, raise your joy, raise your excitement, that's when you can use create the change for you, because your brain is creating these signals, and 2020 has changed the way our brains work, because emotions change brain function. And we think sometimes that we've got to do something big to make a change in someone's life, and we've got to do something, really powerful. But I'm going to close with this story of a boy who used to be in my class. I taught school for 25 years, and I tried to teach people about joy and happiness. And this boy, Andrew, was probably the worst, toughest student I ever had. He was 16 years old. He'd just come from military school where his stepfather had sent him, and he was mad at the world. And he came into my class, and you know how you feel when you're upset and you're angry. A happy person you just can't stand to be around them. Well, he could not stand to be around me, and he made sure I knew it and everybody in the class knew it. He would throw things, he would dump chairs over. He was literally the hardest kid I had ever taught in my life. And I came home crying. I just didn't know what to do with him. At the time, my daughter was a senior in high school, and I asked her, I said, what can I do? I cannot reach this child. And she said, Mom, no one cares about you until you care about them. And I was like, wow. Because all I cared about was he acted nice in my class. I hadn't stopped to think anything about him. And truly, if I'm honest, I didn't care about him. I cared about his behavior. So I asked her, what do I need to do? She said, Mom, find out something about him and tell him how good it is. I was like, there is nothing good about him. He's the worst kid I've ever taught. But the very next day, I went into class and I was like, I'm going to find something nice about Andrew if it just kills me. And he was the worst that day. But I stopped and I said, Andrew, I love the way you part your hair. A 16-year-old boy looked at me like, lady, you have lost your mind. But I kept doing it. I did it every single day, and it did not work. After a week, it didn't work. After 2 weeks, it didn't work. After 3 weeks. But on the 4th week, I noticed that Andrew came into my class like a different person. He walked in my door and he said, hey, Miss D. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have arrived. I had done nothing but use that observation. I changed my focus of this tunnel vision from how terrible he was to looking for one nice thing that I could find about him every day. I kept on and I kept on and I kept on. And I can tell you, at the end of that year, Andrew was a completely different kid in my class. He was one of my favorite students. I still talk to him to this very day. And it has been years and years ago that he was in my room, and he was terrible to all the other teachers. But the one thing that he told me changed him was gratitude. And years later, we went to go drink coffee. He had come into town. He lives in Denver, Colorado. And he was in town for the Christmas holidays. And he said, Miss D, do you want to go get some coffee? And I said, oh, Andrew, I would love that. And I asked him, I said, Andrew, what changed your behavior in my class? Because if you would have acted like that in the other teacher's class, you would have had a whole different atmosphere at the school. He said, Miss Danford, you smiled at me every time you saw me, and you made me feel like you were grateful I was alive. Wow. I thought it was going to be some lesson I taught him or some compliment, but it was something as simple as a smile and gratitude that changed his life, because it is that powerful. This is Andrew today, who actually works for me. He does a lot of my research and helps me do lots of things in my company. He is now, almost 30 years old and is a completely changed person. But I remember when he wrote me when he was about to graduate from from college, and he sent me this letter. He said, Miss Danford, I just wanted you to know that I found out I will be graduating in August. Things have really changed for me in the universe since I began putting positivity everywhere I go. I stopped living like an angry victim and began controlling my emotions, like you said. I know our paths will cross again. Maybe someday I can be there when you give your presentations and tell people myself that you were the one person in school who accepted me for who I was. It brings tears to my eyes knowing that after all these years, you have my first painting hanging in your office. Miss Danford, you will always be at the top of the list of things that I am thankful for. You're still the best. And this is the painting that I have hanging in my office that is one of the worst things I've ever seen. But I will never forget that is the day that Andrew changed his behavior. And he was painting this painting in my classroom. And I walked by him and I said, Andrew, I love the way you blend your blues. And he looked at me and he said, really? And I said, yes, you have such a beautiful stroke pattern with your paintbrush. And that simple moment of gratitude changed not only Andrew's life, but it changed my life. Because gratitude and joy are creating chemical and electrical signals in your brain every second of every day. And there is new research now from NYU called brain to brain synchrony. And our brains are synchronizing with the people that we are in contact with the most. Stop today and think, am I spilling out things that are good? Am I synchronizing with these people and spreading joy and gratitude? Or am I synchronizing stress? Because stress is contagious, but so is joy and gratitude. And when you change the way your brain works, you change the way you work, and you change the way your work environment feels, because it is the number one predictor of a relationship, whether that be in your family, whether that be at work, because it changes your brain in ways you can never imagine. I thank you so much for being here today. And I know that it's early there and that your time is so valuable. And I am more than happy to answer any questions you have about the brain, or you can feel free to email me. But I want you to think of your brain today and remember there's a Texas brain cheerleader who's cheering you on, because it's not easy, but it is powerful.
Wow, Staci, what a presentation. That was just, I think that was just what we all needed to start our day off right.
Oh, thank you.
I will definitely be using the stop method and the dose method. Wow, fantastic. So yes, thank you so much for sharing your wealth of information with us today. And just so everybody knows that Staci has an exhibitor booth during the breaks, so please go and visit her and say hello and maybe learn a little bit more to put some more joy into your life. So thanks again, Staci. And if everyone will go ahead, or actually, I'm sorry. Now we are going to share another sponsor commercial soon from one of our medical carriers, Kaiser Permanente. And then after that, we will go into our exhibitor break. So after the commercial, please make sure to visit the exhibitor section of the Whova platform. And I'll be in there as well if you have any questions related to our wellness program or any other wellness services that we provide. All right, thanks everyone. We'll see you in a bit.
Thank you.
Different from what you may be used to. Kaiser Permanente. And signing up couldn't be easier. Kaiser Permanente was founded on the idea that health isn't an industry, it's a cause. Here are 3 ways we bring that to life: convenience, integration, and quality care. Wherever you go, our care is there. You have access to hospitals, doctors, and facilities near you. plus urgent and emergency care coverage wherever you travel. And when you don't want to travel, we do emails, phone visits, and video visits to save you time.
Their website is super easy to use. It's sort of seamless between the two devices, whether you're on a computer, whether you're on your phone. The mobile website's fantastic. You can order prescriptions, you can message your doctor. If you need to get something from the pharmacy, you can walk right out of the doctor's office, go straight to the pharmacy, then go down and get your labs. I mean, it's like everything's all in-house, and that sort of integration of everything and having everything right there is probably the best part.
The human body is all connected. Why wouldn't your healthcare be? Our doctors, nurses, specialists, pharmacists, and billing have been integrated long before it became a buzzword in healthcare. Our system helps eliminate second guessing and hours on the phone.
We're all unified behind a single focus and a common purpose. We're all here as a team. We all share the responsibility for caring for the patients.
You know, I think it's because Kaiser Permanente has had an electronic medical record for so long that it is really well refined. It's just really easy to keep up with what is happening with all the other specialists, being able to tell them what I'm doing as well.
The beauty of telehealth visit is it really meets the members' needs, where they want the care, when they want it, how they want it.
Quality care starts with outstanding doctors. They're here to be part of a system that's focused on what's best for patients, period. It's all about your total health.
We embrace the holistic approach. So we look at your mental aspect, your social aspect, your physical health. It's not just you're coming in to see a doctor. We take care of every facet of your well-being.
The organization gives us the freedom to practice pure medicine, and we're divorced from the money aspect. So that doesn't factor into what we do. Patients see all the different specialists and get all the opinions, and we help them make a decision that's best for them. And I think that's beautiful.
It doesn't surprise me at all that we're starting to get very high rankings, the highest rankings possible in many different domains. I think it's great to be able to talk about, but I don't think it's new. I think it's something we've always done.
When you put it all together, that's Kaiser Permanente. An idea so radical, it makes perfect sense. Discover how easy healthcare can be at kp.org.
We want the best quality of life for our patients. We want them to get back to doing what they
Hi, everyone. So as Jenny mentioned, we're now going to take a break, so you can feel free to close this Zoom meeting and go over and look at all of the exhibitor booths and talk to the sponsors. Feel free to go ahead and do that. We're going to go ahead and close this meeting, and then we will see you back at 10:30. Thanks. Bye-bye.